So first off, let's tweak a few values here to make our game feel a little more fun. Now, there's no scientific method to any of this. I just happened to fiddle with the values a little bit until I came up with something that felt right to me. If you would like to continue tweaking with these values until you come up with something that you like better, please feel free. But these are sort of what I came up with and something I kind of liked, at least for the purposes of a tutorial. I guess first thing, I'm actually going to bump the frame rate up to 60 because I know at least my computer here can handle it, and well, certainly our game looks better when it runs at a higher frame rate. There are a few things we're going to have to adjust to go along with this higher frame rate. The first thing would be over in my physivals file, I want to adjust my frame rate from 30 here to 60. Note, by the way, that this is going to make my moving platform move twice as fast as it did before, because we tied the velocity of that platform to the frame rate. And that is actually okay. I actually think the platform will work a little better if it moves a little faster. However, I am going to go into this bonus shoot actor, and I've realized I've kept this trace statement on the entire time, and it's been kind of spamming my output, so I'm going to comment this out if you haven't done that already. So let's just run this real quick. Ooh, alright, things are already looking a whole lot smoother. That's pretty cool. Now let's tweak a few more values here. First thing I'm actually going to do is change my ratio from 30 to 45. Basically what this means is 45 pixels on screen equals a meter instead of 30 pixels. So that basically everything on my screen is now smaller as far as Box2D is concerned. These pegs have kind of shrunk a little bit, and I actually think that will make it work a little better. I mean, certainly if you think of a pachinko game, the ball and the pegs are actually quite small, and I think this will probably help. And now if we go back to my Puggle class, I'm going to tweak one or two more things. First things first, I'm actually going to change this launch velocity to something even more. Let's try 470. I think that's what I ended up with that actually felt pretty good. And then there's one other thing I actually want to do, which is change the force of gravity a little bit. I'm actually going to make my force of gravity a little less. So I can do that. I'm going to do that by setting up a constant here. And instead of 9.8, I'm going to go down to 7.8. And I have to make sure that everywhere I have defined my gravity, I've hard-coded it to 9.8, I need to change it now to this constant. Probably a good example of why I should have made this a constant all along. So over here when I set up my aiming line, I'm going to change that to gravity. And way down in my setup physics world function, I'm also going to change this to my new gravity constant. So with all of these changes in, now when I run this thing, so the first thing you might notice, by the way, is that my aiming line goes a lot further down the screen than it used to. And that's because basically with the larger launch velocity, the distance that this ball can travel in a second is much further than it was before. I've also noticed that with the smaller gravity, I seem to get a little more of a rebound when my ball bounces off the various pegs and the walls and that kind of stuff. And that I think kind of makes it feel a little more fun, and maybe at times it bounces a little less predictably. So all in all, I guess I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Feel free to keep tweaking the values. I bet you can come up with something that maybe feels a little more springier if that's what you're looking for. Somehow feels a little more fun. I'm pretty happy with this the way it is. So I'm going to leave it like this, and we'll move on to the next step, which is just adding maybe a couple of graphical effects. And so we'll do that next.